viewers, welcome to the radio television of Djibouti. Here are our major stories. The Somali president arrived this morning to Djibouti for a working visit of 24 hours. In the presidential election in Mali, Ibrahim re-elected for a second term. Djibouti-Somali relations. Somali President Mr. Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo arrived this morning in Djibouti for a 24-hour working visit. He is accompanied by a strong delegation of Somali officials. When he got off the plane at Djibouti International Airport, he was greeted by Djibouti Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, who was surrounded by all the members of the government, civilian and military authorities. The Republican Guard presented their honors to the Somali President, the Prime Minister, and the Somali President, and exchanged a few words at the airport's VIP lounge. Then immediately afterwards, Somali President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo and his delegation were taken to the presidential palace, where the first official talks with the head of state, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, took place. At the presidential palace, the head of state, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, received his Somali counterpart, Mr. Mohamed Abdullahi Mohammed. The one-on-one meeting between President Guelleh and his Somali counterpart is the main step in the current move of the Somali chief executive to Djibouti. During this meeting, the two politicians discussed at length the issues of common interest to both countries and the two peoples, and further sharpened their capacities to act in concert in total synergy in the process to engage regionally, continentally and internationally their respective countries. This meeting also served to the two leaders of privilege framework to the identification of new measures which have nature to intensify the level of exchange and collaboration between the two nations, and this is in all the fields of activity: politics, economic, security and military, cultural and the like. This summit meeting was preceded by an extended working meeting attended by the members of the delegation led by the Somali President and officials of the government of Djibouti and the office of President Guelleh. In addition to the Minister of the Interior and Federal Affairs, the Minister of Finance, Mr. Abdurrahman Douale Peyle, and the Deputy Head of National Security, Mr. Fahad Yassin, accompanied the President of Somalia, Mr. Mohamed Abdullahi Mohammed, as part of his current visit to Djibouti. On the Djiboutian side, the Minister of Economy and Finance, Yas Moussa Douale, the Minister of the Presidency in charge of investments, Ali Guelleh Abubakar, the Minister of Muslim Affairs, Mumin Hassan Barre, the Secretary General of Presidency of the Republic, Mr. Mohamed Abdullahi Wa'ai, Secretary General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mr. Mohamed Ali Hassan, and the Ambassador of the Republic of Djibouti to the Federal Republic of Somalia, Mr. Adan Hassan Adan, participated in the extended working meeting between the two countries. And in an interview with the local press, the Minister of the Interior in charge of Federal Affairs, Mohamed Abdi Sibriye, talked about the ties between Djibouti and Somalia, which bear the highest degree of brotherhood, solidarity and communion that two sister nations have the right to hope to achieve in their relations, he said. The Republic of Djibouti and Somalia are committed to work together continuously. This is an imperative contiguous to the natural proximity between our two nations, said the Somali minister to the same effect. It is in this natural and systematic proximity that is at the origin of Somalia's memorable mobilization at the time of the struggle for independence in Djibouti. It is in this same natural proximity that is the root of Djibouti's tireless efforts to bring Somalia back to the world, he said. Djibouti and Somalia will continue to provide support, solidarity and mutual assistance, concluded the Somali government member. The Ministry of Health has summoned yesterday the entire medical staff of the Department of Health to launch the work of development and harmonization of a therapeutic protocols. All of medical specialists, general practitioners and pharmacists were invited to this important meeting, which kicked off a vast consultation exercise aimed at standardizing and rationalizing the treatment protocols. Convinced of the efficiency of such an exercise, the specialties followed one another to give their opinions and their suggestions in order to carry out this work of consensual exchanges, which will make it possible to elaborate a national guide of the therapeutic protocols while referring to good practices. In this way, practitioners will work together to address both the curative and preventive aspects of the main pathologies commonly encountered in healthcare facilities and whose morbidity and mortality burden are the most common. After performing the rites of pilgrimage in the holy city of Medina, where the tomb of the Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him and his companions, is located, the 1,500 Djibouti pilgrims are in Mecca. Djiboutian pilgrims made the Umrah in Mecca and prepared to perform Hajj rites. Let us recall that the Ministry of Welfare has made all the arrangements for the success of the pilgrimage, which will gather millions faithful to Mecca, Mina and Arafat, all together under the supervision of the Djiboutian Hajj Committee. The Djiboutian pilgrims have in choir praised Allah in His Prophet.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك
And as part of its effort to allow Djiboutian pilgrims to perform the Hajj according to the direction of the Prophet, the committee organized last night a religious evening for the benefit of the pilgrims. This course aims to familiarize pilgrims to the best way to accomplish their religious duties in addition to following in the holy places. This course was taught by Sheikh Jamali and Sheikh Yayu. In a brief speech, the two sheikhs he emphasized the importance of this opportunity for pilgrims before calling on Hajj pilgrims to take advantage of this session held by the Ministry of Muslim Affairs in collaboration with the Ministry of Health for the 5th year in a row. The Djiboutian Agency for Social Development, the ADDS, sponsored this Thursday the holding of an exhibition and selling of handicrafts. This exhibition is part of the efforts undertaken to support the initiatives of young people determined to take a charge and promote crafts. Many women find through the manufacture of handicrafts, including in making necklaces and bracelets, original, the presentation of traditional clothes for children, important sources of income. This exhibition comes at such a few days from the celebration of the festival of Eid al-Adha that coincides with the end of the Mecca pilgrimage as we prepare to organize also the International Fair of Djibouti. It should be noted that 178 women managers the craft workshops and were trained on design and colors by representative of the international NGO Aid to Artisans, an NGO based in Washington. They benefited from a support fund to design the products, build the stock, and finally dispose of the manufacturing goods. The Djiboutian Agency for Social Development was able to obtain from the Japanese Fund for Social Development a financial assistance of $2,730,000 for a project to support the crafts sector and entrusted the ADDS with the execution of this project. After the community center of Arhiba in the wing of District 2, it is around the community center of Neighborhood 7 to receive this morning a gift of textbooks from the association Al-Fawz. The event was attended by interim director Mr. Ahmed Ali, his assistant Mrs. Quraish Ali, and several young people from this neighborhood. The president of the Al-Fawz Association, Mr. Kamil Dimpio Mohammed, and his Vice President, Mr. Ali Adlo Mohammed, did not fail to thank the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports for his constant commitment to the youth, and that is an honor for them to take part in this pledge of giving. As part of the organization of the regional football tournament in Tijora, a delegation of National Football Federation led by the President of the Regional League, Mr. Mohammed Rufai, and his Vice President moved to the site to provide some advice on the organizational and technical practices, particularly for coaches and referees. In addition, a training course on refereeing rule and basic training was launched for the benefit of around 30 young natives of the White City. This training is led by experienced experts, all Djiboutians. Obituary following the death of the late Abdullahi Boulali Mirani occurred yesterday in a traffic accident. The President of the Regional Council of Dakhil, Mr. Mohammed Sheikh Hassan, addresses in his own name and that of his staff of the prefecture and all of the population of Dakhil region extend his sincere condolences to the family of the deceased and all the traditional chiefs of the region. The Minister of Interior Hassan Umar, the Minister of Equipment and Transport Mohammed Abdul Qadir Musa, the Minister Delegate for Trades Hassan Mohammed, the Minister of Housing Musa Muhammad Ahmed, the entrepreneur from Dakhil Hussein Gamash, and the President of the Regional Council Abdurrahman Yunus Array, and all the parliamentarians of the region all extend their condolences to the family of the deceased and his family, an early independent and traditional chief of the region. The late Abdullahi Boulali Mirani served in the Djiboutian Armed Forces and then the prefect of Dakhil as an auxiliary of administration. He has worked hard for national unity and social cohesion and understanding among diverse communities. The deceased left behind 7 children and several grandchildren. We pray the Almighty to grant him his mercy and to welcome him into his eternal paradise. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. In another obituary, we have the regret to announce the death of Salah Kahi Warsame, The deceased was born in 1959 in Djibouti and leaves behind 2 children. The late Saleh Kahiye was the brother of the journalist Abdul Qadir Kahiye. The management and all the staff of the RTD address their sincere condolences to the family of the deceased. May Allah welcome him in his eternal paradise. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Moving on to the news outside our borders, outgoing President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta won the second round of the presidential election in Mali and will lead for another 5 years. This country of the Sahel is still facing the jihadist threat. At the age of 73, the head of the state, who went on to become the favorite and after having moved largely in the lead in the first round, won 67.17% of the vote on August 12th compared to 32.83% for the opponent, Soumaïla Cissé, a former 68-year-old finance minister, according to full official results announced Thursday, which still have to be validated by the Constitutional Court. In his campaign headquarters, supporters of the outgoing president celebrated the victory as soon as the results were announced. In 2013, the 2 men had already clashed in the second round, and Mr. Keïta, known as IBK, had won with 77.6% of the vote. For his second term, which will begin on 4th September, Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta will have the difficult task of relaunching the peace agreement concluded in 2015 with the former Tuareg-backed rebellion, whose implementation accumulates setbacks, in which this has not prevented the violence from spreading from the north to the center of the country and to the neighboring Burkina Faso and Niger. In the Democratic Republic of Congo is currently deploying an experimental treatment for the Ebola virus. This treatment, called MAB-114, aims to counter the latest upsurge of the virus that is ranging for the first time in the DRC's armed conflict zone, complicating the work of the NGOs. The Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros Adhanom, went on the spot and he did not hide his concern. But access to some areas of conflict remains very difficult because of the many armed groups fighting. Another risk factor, this area is in the east of the country, is very densely populated. At present, the reasons for this epidemic are not yet known. There have so far been 41 deaths, of which 14 formally identified as caused by Ebola, says the WHO. This is the 20th epidemic in the country since 1976. And that's all for this news. Thank you for having us on RTD. Have a good night.